Or we just do this in. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency Personnel Committee meeting for December 14th. We have all attendants as well as several staff. Agenda. So let's talk about and get an update from our salary survey. Jeff.
So I don't have much to report. Just again, we've been working to get the meetings scheduled with Compensation Connections, and Shannon sent out a calendar invite for the time that. So the only time we found that works for everybody is from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. on I think it's Thursday, January 12th. So I just wanted to make sure. Shannon wrote back to me and Debbie saying she was concerned because nobody had confirmed that time worked, but I know so I don't always send out a response that I've but anyway, just want to get some acknowledgement that time works and for
just
everybody.
Confirmed.
So great, thank you.
I just accepted. Sorry.
Okay, great. That's fine. And Lynn and I are meeting with Shannon and Kathy, the two that we met with back in, I think it was the end of October, meeting with them next Tuesday to get an update on where they are with their market survey, and kind of where they want to go from here, where things stand. So we'll know more about where things stand after the meeting next week, but I'm sure either I or Shannon will send out additional information in advance of the January 12th meeting.
Great. Questions?
So that's all I've got on that.
Okay. Great. Okay. So then I was just trying to think if I had any, but I don't think I have any questions. So stay tuned on that one. All right. So then we'll go to talk about our executive director review. So Jeff is working to write an update to his performance measures that we set. And so we have the performance measures, which are, to me, the evaluatable work. Of course, we have the job description as well for folks to reference. I think if we've designed our performance measures well, which I think we've done a pretty good job, or Jeff has, then we are catching the job description sort of within that. But we want to provide opportunity for folks along the way to comment. And I know, Robin, you do this professionally. I'm just like a practicing board chair. So if you ever have any comments or thoughts about how we could improve, just definitely like butt in. Okay. So we've been, in historically with our executive director reviews, we've done a few different things in the 10 years or 11 years that I've been here. Sometimes we've done a tool where we try to get the board, and in my experiences, the elected officials are horrible at any tool or pre-written anything. Maybe it's Records Act. I don't know. I'm guilty as well, but that to me is common across all of the places I am as both as a CEO and as a board chair.
We resist structure. Right.
That might be it. A bunch of reformers, right, sitting at the table trying to break what they're sitting at. But the most important thing is the conversation. And that's where we all have the time to have some give and take with Jeff and just that's interesting. I thought it was.
Yeah.
Huh. I'll schedule a 1 hour with the staff so a 1 hour where any staff can come and give feedback. And what I would do is use the waiting room. So it's one at a time, few minutes, give me your feedback, move on. And I'm thinking that I would like to do that, Jeff and Debbie, on January 11th at noon, right after our board meeting. And then for the executive committee, that link that I just put in the chat, Debbie, would be for each of them to schedule a 30-minute with me. and we'll talk through how they're feeling, what they're seeing, what their thoughts are. So, feedback and improvement opportunities for Jeff, and then I'll sew that all up and bring it back to the board at executive session, where we can hear from Jeff verbally about his write-up, respond to it, give him our feedback, and then turn around and do a contract update to bring to the board. And I think in that, to give us a little bit of time, we can try to have a draft contract at that February executive session. And then the board, we can talk about our number for salary for Jeff for that second contract in that executive session without giving direction. And then I'll write it up that way, and it'll come to the board for approval. At probably that would be at the March board meeting, which is right after, but right after the end of the contract. But the way I think we wrote it, Jeff, is it's like a lease where it renews month to month, right?
Yes, yeah, it will keep going. So there's not a date by which we have to renew it by.
Okay. So that's the rough outline. I wanted to see if you have thoughts, or if either of you or both of you want to participate in any of those other conversations. It's certainly, it makes it more complex scheduling wise, but it's appropriate if either of you want to do that. But I'm happy to, just make that happen and bring the comments back so that folks feel, I think particularly for me, the only concern I would have about too many people is that I might not get the level of conversation that we want to have. So, but I also don't want to always be the holder.
I appreciate you offering that, Jim, and I just feel for my own development as a board member, I would love to get a little bit more interface with the staff. So I would value that opportunity to be there for those conversations. If you don't think it's clunky, and I don't mind taking a back seat and driving the conversation for sure. And then, I guess just to talk a little bit about your, the Excel, my normal kind of evaluation of an executive is taking that work plan, put it into a spreadsheet with, needs work, meets expectation, exceeds expectation, and everyone fills that out. And you're saying we aren't going to get very much for that. So you want to kind of forego that aspect of it. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, we could do that if you prefer. For me, it's like, I don't know if I've ever gotten a representative sample from a group of elected officials. It's different in other places I'm at. We can certainly try. And we do have, Jeff gave me a really good rubric from ecology that would probably be good for measuring each of those goals if we wanted to at least get a ranking and comments. I mean, we could put that out and see what we get for sure.
I don't want to just be, oh, sorry, go ahead, Robin. You've got more experience than I.
I'm just trying to think about how we do this, because, I recently went through a 360 evaluation. I know that getting feedback on how you're doing from a lot of different perspectives can be really useful, especially if you're new in your role. Zoom actually has polling capabilities, and I don't know if we've ever used those, but if we did an executive session, we could gather in-time feedback from elected officials, sort of forcing people to participate in the exercise by doing a quick polling. And you could do maybe a Likert scale or a, rate Jeff on a couple of basic measures just to get quick. It doesn't have to be super detailed or granular, but we could get real feedback from the board members.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
And the polling
fascinating.
is fairly anonymous. Like, it doesn't put people's names on what they respond with.
Right.
Can you do polling in exec?
Well, that's what I don't know. Like, you're creating a record of something that happened in exec, and that might be okay as long as we keep it to
We should
ourselves.
ask Tiffany.
Typically, we try not to at the city. So,
Yeah. I mean, the public records rule says that if you have sort of draft information that is going to be rolled up into an aggregate report, the report is the record, and the draft data it can be considered transitory. So if we're going to take the feedback we got from executives on the committee and then roll it up into a larger report and just say, like, this is how executives thought Jeff was doing on these 5 key measures, it wouldn't be you know, we wouldn't be keeping the detailed data from the executive session. We'd be just keeping it as a part of a report. Food for thought anyway, if we're trying to get elected officials to participate in structure.
Yeah, no, I think it's genius. I'm processing through the like technical side of it in my head.
Because we can't take action. I mean, is that polling?
I don't think the
Aggregate into
polling, I don't
action?
think it would be action, but where would it live so only we could see it? Like, that's where my mind is going. Dan, chime in.
So the Zoom would save that polling data in the files with the recordings, with the closed caption transcripts we have. So as the designated ORCAA Zoom manager, I would have that. I could put it in a file for you. I guess my question would be maybe to Jeff Myers of, is that because it's in the Zoom cloud, does that become a public record, or because it's executive session, is it protected public record?
It would be
In
protected.
the past, we did have the one issue where we forgot to turn off the recording as you went into executive session, and Jeff okayed me deleting that from our posted public record of the meeting. So I think you would be safe there, but my personal preference would be to get clarification from the attorneys to make sure that those Zoom records are protected as executive session materials and not subject to public records.
Okay.
It's a great idea and a way to actually solicit constructive feedback from the elected. So I think we should ask legal if this is Jeff Myers, I should say, if this would be valid.
Okay. Yeah, let me ask Jeff, and then yeah, we might need to touch base in January as a group for a few minutes just to make sure we don't that we do it right at the February meeting.
I think Robin needs some shoulder pads in her jacket.
Cat is
There's not enough
ridiculous.
seating area for the cat.
Right, a platform on her neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the only other issue you would want to consider is if you want me to have access to that. I mean, I'm not gonna do anything with it, from my own point of view, but if you want to make sure that it's limited only to board participation, then you would have to have me designate one of you with my login for Zoom so that you could grab those records. But so you need to make that decision on your own if you trust me to just transfer that to you and not examine the record. And I'm happy either way. Again, that's I dealt with a lot of public records. I've dealt with sensitive materials over the years. So
Okay. Yeah, let me process that, and I'll call Jeff Myers and see what his thoughts are around it.
I think this is feedback that's kind of coming from a completely different angle on the performance management process. But Jeff, you talk to us all the time, but I do want to make sure that there's a piece of this evaluation process that allows for you to continue communicating what it is that you need from the board. So, you know, it goes both ways. We can evaluate how you've done on the measures that we've identified and update those measures and improve upon them, but also, are we giving you the support that you need or the access that you need?
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, and Jeff, decide on your own if you want to add that in writing to your summary or just do it verbally in the behind closed doors.
Okay. Great. Well, I appreciate the time and effort that you all are putting in and will put in to get meaningful, formative feedback for me. Because again, Jim, as you mentioned earlier, and again, I'm just completing my first year. This is a new role for me. And so I am really interested in broad feedback from the board, from staff, from the management team here, and from stakeholders. I mean, I was actually thinking of Jeff Myers and Mike Throgmorton. I think making sure that they have an opportunity, and perhaps that would be during the exec session, but again, working with them on a number of things, I would find their feedback and input valuable as well.
Okay. And I'll just ask Jeff if they have any to give it to me directly, if that's okay.
Yep.
I do want to say, I think I get nervous about using terms like 360 because they're lagging in government, but they're out the door in the corporate sector because a 360 is a firing squad, and it's just not a good picture for me. And
My feedback was pretty good. I guess you can't count on that though. Yeah.
Right, you're right, and it's great if you're great, but if you're not, it's not productive, right? And I think that's the important thing.
Yeah.
That, well, why we kind of adapted our process, from the last chair to me with our previous director, because we were set up for that. So.
I was going to say, if you're going to be having conversations with members of the executive team for ORCAA, Jim, my calendar is nightmarish, but I don't know if there's a way to be invited just as optional to those conversations, or if you're going to have a conversation with the whole group or just one-on-one, but not to try to schedule around me because that's hard. But I would love to be able to participate on those conversations if I was available.
Greg, is that an okay accommodation for you as well? So I don't have to make the scheduling too complex, because I was hoping those exec members could just grab a spot on my calendar.
For
but
sure.
Then what I
Yeah,
can
I don't want to derail or slow up the process. So you schedule them. I'll attend as I can, as Robin said.
Oh, I see. You're using Calendly. Yeah. So whenever the meetings get scheduled, just awareness of when the meetings get scheduled, I guess. And I, like Greg, don't want to interfere with the, I don't know, the openness of the conversation.
Yeah.
But
I think with I think with the group we have, it'll be fine. Like the executive team's all been here and they know us. So I think I'm not that worried about that. With the exception of the IT, I lost his name.
Chris,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Who is newer. So then what I'll do is.
Hey, Jim, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I got to leave at 11 for the BNR proposal, so I just want to make sure that if there's anything else any action items that we need to discuss before that, could we?
No, I think we're about to wrap, Greg. And so
Okay.
all I was going to say is what I'll do then is have the leadership team pick their slot on my calendar, and then I'll go through as they come in, and I'll invite both Greg and Robin as optional. Those are going to come from my work email. So it's jim@uwpnw.org. So notice that, and then I'll add my city email also, so I create that record. But that's the best way for me to calendar for something like this. And then notice that, and then when you email me the next time, make sure you're sending it to me at the city and not at my work. So that's the other thing that happens with autocomplete. So does all of that sound good, Jeff, to you, that discussion? Any concerns?
No, I think it sounds good. And again, I appreciate the thought that you all are, and time that you all will be putting into this. So nope,
Okay.
Nothing for me. It looks like Dan has his hand up.
Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to let Greg know, it sounded like one thing you wanted to do is participate for board development and your own edification on some of this. Feel free to contact any of the managers at any time. I'd love to chat with you if you have specific questions or general questions. So we're always here for you. So I enjoy chatting with people with similar interests, and if you want to educate me or you want some information from me, whatever.
All right, I appreciate it, Dan.
Good. Yeah, we want to keep that culture, so that's important.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will do those invites. I will talk to Jeff, and then we'll look at if we're going to do a poll, whether we can do that in via email or do it have a quick meeting in January. Debbie, can you help me with a note to all staff for that noon time on the 11th, and a note to the exec committee or exec team to get them to schedule in sometime before the end of January with me?
Will do.
Thank you. But not before the 3rd of January.
Okay.
I think my calendar's blocked out already for that. So
Okay.
cool.
And I'm sorry, Robin, go ahead.
Point of clarification, Jeff, are you going to resend out your performance plan and your job description to this group as well? Because I'd love to have a refresher on that. I think I have it somewhere in my emails, but
Yes, I will do that. Yeah, I can send it. Should I just send it to the personnel committee at this point? And then at some point later, as we get closer to February, I can send it along with my, so I haven't yet, of course, written up my response, but what I can send at this point is my job description and the 5 performance measures that we agreed to, I think last March or April. And then again, once we get closer to the February feedback session, I'll send it as well as my write-up that we've been talking about. And Jim, I guess my question was, so you were going to put together some prompts that you're going to distribute to staff, management team, just in terms of questions, things to help them provide you with feedback, right?
Yeah, I'll come up with the same set of questions to ask them and to get the feedback, and then probably that would be the basis for either how we do Zoom polling, or I don't know, maybe we just do it in the chat with 1 through 5 rankings kind of thing. So, but I'll figure something out that matches them. So it's similar in both situations. Based on, I think I like the rubric from ecology with your performance measures. They probably match up pretty well to have people rank that way. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Oh, include your contract when you send it to the 3 of us.
Right. Okay.
And then if you have, because I know your salary is not part of the performance or the salary survey work, so if you can do a scan of the 3 or 4 like size salaries, so we have that from our agencies.
Right. Yes, I've started to collect that. So
Okay.
yeah. So if I have that in January, I'm assuming that will. When do you need that?
Yeah,
Or,
January is probably
yeah.
good, and that way I can be ready with a recommendation for February.
Okay. All right.
put a mini market rate survey.
Yeah. We set it pretty good, so I think we're okay comparison wise, probably, and then it's just a matter of performance and and COLA to match what the staff are getting. So because we did not do a COLA with Jeff at the beginning of this fiscal year because it had just been contracted. So
yeah.
So he's the most behind. Okay. Cool. I think that's what we have. Anything else, Robin, that you think we should talk about in this process?
No, Dan put a good suggestion in the chat, which is why I asked for the job description and the performance measures, because if we're going to do Zoom polling, we want to develop the questions in advance. So not just, looking at the performance measures, but also how do we frame the questions so that people can answer them well and we get useful data. Because I've seen Likert scale questions written badly so that people don't know how to respond.
Yeah.
So
well, and I'll tell you right now, if that's a level of sophistication that you're looking for, you might need to volunteer to do it, because I don't have time.
I was going to try to make a draft of some things.
Okay.
For consideration
cool.
of the group.
Yeah, if you can make me like a spreadsheet, then we can use it to gather data and then use it to put into polling questions.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll forward in it, just because since Jim has made reference to the ecology, so it's a rubric that they use for looking at growth and development for supervisors and managers. And so Robin, I'll share that when I share all these other things with the personnel committee, just so that you've got that handy in case it's a helpful reference.
I'll look at those with 2 sets of eyes.
Yeah, and feel free to throw it out if you have a better Likert too. So like that's just the one I saw most recently that I like. So
yeah,
cool. Okay, so we probably need to schedule a January meeting of this committee to make sure that we have our ducks in a row for February. There's finance already, right?
Correct.
I'm tempted to say we do it at 11:30 right after the board meeting, but Jeff, do you think the board meeting's longer than that?
I think it very well
Okay,
could be. There's, I mean, the hearing, the hearing and there's some other topics, depending upon how much discussion we're gonna have on the OLI map proposal. We've got a Chica Peak contracting topic to bring, so I don't think we can expect a short board meeting.
No, you're probably right.
Could we meet in advance or right before the ORCAA meeting? Or is that hard on?
That's when the
Finance.
finance committee meeting
Oh,
is.
right.
Is it
Yeah.
9? So unless we were to like meet at 8:30 before the finance committee meeting.
And we could move, this is Lynn, we could move the finance committee meeting to February if you would like. That way it'll open up a potential hour for you if you feel that's satisfactory for the meeting.
Yeah, that's cool with me if it's okay with your schedule, Lynn. And yeah, we just need to make sure with Greg that he doesn't have anything right before the February meeting, but I mean, I always keep the whole morning booked for ORCAA, so.
Well, he was presumably going to be at the finance committee meeting anyway, so
Yeah.
it'll be a personnel committee instead of a finance committee meeting.
Cool. Yeah, but to make sure he's free for
In
finance
February.
at 9 o'clock in February.
Oh, in February, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, if you can do that, Lynn or Jeff, and then from there we'll schedule that change. That sounds good to me. Cool. Anything else? Okay. Look for a personnel meeting at 9 in January. Finance will switch to February. I'll talk to the lawyer and start working on these schedulings, and Robin will take a stab at a rubric for us.
And I'll get an email out
And you'll
here
send your information.
in the next, either later today or tomorrow with these documents that we've been talking about.
Okay. Everyone good?
Very productive meeting.
Okay. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.